right. We are finally live. Yay! All the technical difficulties. Guys, sorry. David, hello. We've already got David in here. David's been one of our biggest fans here. So, hey. But yeah, welcome to Order 42. I am Rob, and today we have Rudy Gutierrez Jr. He's the first assistant director for the Game Chasers movie and so much more. I want to dig into that stuff. Again, thank you guys for the follows. I've had some follows in between streams. It's just awesome. I mean, being sort of a member of the Game Chasers crew now gives me a few benefits, so that's kind of nice. But again, thank you. And of course, Jim is here. Jim is hosting us, so that's awesome.
Is that Jim?
That's our Jim. Yes. That's our boy Jim. So yeah.
Boy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just get started. First, how have you been doing? Like through all of this, has it been? It's been difficult, right?
Yeah. So through all the coronavirus nonsense, the film industry is completely shut down. We actually June 12th, which was yesterday, legally can now start filming in the state of Texas again. We had to wait until the third phase, I think it was the second or third phase. But yeah, just staying home. Been working odd jobs to have money, living off of unemployment. Basically, that's what everyone else is doing. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So the industry was impacted pretty hard. There's all the unions got together, GGA, OTC, all of them got together and made a new standardization that we have to use on set from now on. So like since this pandemic, there's a whole new set of rules that we have to use on the film set to keep everybody safe. And so I was just reading that. It's like 50 pages or something.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I can't fathom how to. I mean, you've already got enough on your plate, Yeah. And then you've got to deal with all of these kind of, oh my gosh, rules and regulations. But it's to keep people safe, right? So.
Yeah. And as a first AD, or anybody in the AD department, we're kind of the safety officers, right? We're the ones that make sure, hey, no, you're not going to stand on top of that truck while it's moving. We're kind of like that. And for them to release like a 40 or 50 page memoir that says, hey, yeah, there can only be one person in each level of the pass van. So a pass van that sits 20 people or 15 people can only take 4 people, including the driver. So you need 15 of them. I mean, what production is going to want to rent 15 pass vans instead of 2?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. So,
well, I mean, it's kind of like it's just like the theaters opening back up.
Right.
I mean, their overhead doesn't change, and yet they can only allow a quarter of the people in there, or half. I don't know where we are now.
I think they're at half right now.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
But then they've talked about, like, there was a lot of talk, of course, before it all started opening up. But where would it be like you're not only, limited to the number of people that you can have in there, but then they're staggering the start times of the movies, the start and end times, so that there's not just, every theater opens up or lets out at the same time. So, that's, I just can't.
Yeah. And, I was talking about this with another filmmaker. We think that the dynamic of film is going to change, especially for the audience. We don't see theaters staying around for the next 10 years. We think they're going to go away. I think theaters are going to be like in the major towns. Like you go to Dallas or Houston or LA or whatever, there'll be a theater, but you can't go to middle of nowhere, Texas, and there'll be a theater. I mean, there already isn't now, but you get what I'm saying. Most towns have some sort of theater, and it'll be like, $20 purchase, and you watch it in your living room. And I think that's what's going to go.
Well, I mean, the thing that I keep talking about, or it's one of those things that I don't see anybody really talking about, is that how will that affect, because, you're limited to $20 per view or whatever. And that's for a whole family, no matter how many kids you got or whatever.
Right.
So that means box office numbers will be lower, which means that eventually the budgets for movies will get lower. Like they won't want to take that many risks.
There's two sides of that. So I think the average ticket sales like $16. So that's between the average two people. It's usually a date night, right, or a
Right.
couple that's going, not a family of four. So I think the average ticket sale will then go up. So I don't think movie budgets will be affected. Um, I think things will change the way they spend their money, especially for the post-pandemic world. I think they're not going to spend $10 million on a pen. You know what I mean? Like, not saying they do, but something just so small like that, they're not going to spend that anymore. It's going to be
Right.
okay. Well, now I've got to allocate $10 million for 50 pass fans. You know, like that's kind of how they're going to spend more money on keeping the crew and cast safe rather than anything else.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Even Jim said that he disagrees that I think he's disagreeing with me. The distribution costs will go way down, so there's less to recoup marketing
Right.
too.
Well,
Um,
I mean, distributors don't normally have a cost. I mean, other than purchasing the product. Um, and I mean, he's right though. They're not going to have to send because they still send hard media to movie theaters.
right.
It's not something they download. It's not a digital platform yet or anything like that. And that's mostly to protect piracies. However, there are some movie theaters that are now have switched to that where they do download digital and secure, servers and stuff like that. But I think, see how to word this. I think it's going to balance itself out is what I'm trying to say. I
Mhm.
think the digital world and the movie theater, I think it's going to just kind of be this weird little hurdle, but it's going to even itself out because people, I mean, during the pandemic, what did you do?
Yeah.
You watch TV, you watch movies, you listen to music. The arts will never go away, and it'll always be funded in some form or another.
Yeah. I guess my thing is that I've, even ever since I was a wee lad, going to the theater was a big deal, and it was an
Right.
experience, and
Right.
I don't want that to go away selfishly, but at the same time, I mean, I understand. I mean, it's the world that we seem to be moving toward. So
Yeah, I kind of don't want it to go away either. I mean, it's when I knew I was going to become a filmmaker was in the theaters. It's
mm.
like it's like I'm going to do that when I grow up, and
Well,
I
that's
think
oh,
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
lose a lot of people. We're gonna lose a lot of people's inspiration that way. Because I mean, you're not gonna sit in the living room watching it on your 24-inch or your bedroom watching on your 24-inch flat screen and going, "I want to do this when I grow up." No, it's not the same experience.
Yeah, there's something there's just something magical about that whole experience. It's like the lights go down. I mean,
Mhm. For
it's
sure,
like a visceral thing for, especially for kids. I mean,
for
I know
sure.
for me, it's weird. Even now, I mean, not literally now, but even as an adult, the lights go down, I get a little bit of that excitement, that giddiness, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So,
no, I get it still, and my kids are just now figuring that out. I took them to see Sonic right before the pandemic, and my daughter specifically is a huge Sonic fan. Like we have the old retro games, and she just loves it. She just plays it like crazy. And when we saw that, she's like, "Oh my god, it's starting! It's starting! It's starting!" And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about." She
right.
she got that same excitement. You just will never get that in a home. I don't see you getting that in your couch.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe they time some sort of. It's almost like they stream it at a certain time. You know what I mean? Like you can watch it on demand, but then you can have like some community. I mean, Twitch plays or
Oh yeah,
What is it? Watch parties, whatever it is now.
yeah. Well, I
So
think Netflix had that too for a while. I don't know if they still do.
I mean, it'd be cool if you could sync it up with the lighting in your house. You know, like if you had the.
Yeah, but you'd have to have a smartphone, and my house is like 70 years old. I don't
Oh, I
see it
know.
having or not smartphone, smart home. But
Right.
yeah, I just
It'd be
don't.
cool if you could tap in. I mean, like if it isn't there, then it won't do it. But
Right.
if you're logged in on a network and your Philips Hue and stuff and is linked into that network, it would
Yeah,
trigger some sort of command that would like
like
dim your
dim the
light. It
lights.
would be cool.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah, it'd
really
be so
cool, and
cool.
it's just one of those things. That's a free idea for you guys watching.
$1 million idea right there.
Yeah, but no, I was actually the first question I was going to ask was, how's your daughter doing? Because I got to meet her on the set, and for some
Oh
reason she latched onto me.
yeah. She it's funny, I don't want to compare her to a dog, but she could see good people. Like she knows good people, like kind of like dogs do. And she'll just be like, "Oh, how are you? I'm gonna sit in your lap." And that's just how she is.
It was weird. Like at first I was just like, oh, hi, and then I just like, okay, I just
Yeah,
went with
no,
it.
she's good. We just got back from vacation, spontaneous vacation. And we were at the beach and stuff. And we had fun. She got a little sunburn, but we had fun.
Well, good, good. But actually, you touched on kind of my first, I guess, my first actual interview question was, what inspired you? Was there a movie? Was there like what got you going?
So there was a few different things. The first one was when I was a kid. I would say this is 93, 94, I guess, somewhere in there. I was 6 or 7 years old. And my older sister's 10 years older than me. So she was a teenager. She's 16, 17, something like that. She drove me to our local theater, and Jurassic Park had just come out. And I
Mm.
watched it and I was blown away. I was like, this is so good. I got to do this. And that was my first instance. And then we had a video station up the street. So if I got good grades in school, my mom would take me to the video station and let me rent whatever I wanted. And so I was renting like Demolition Man and all the old action movies, stuff like that. And I was like, this is so cool. People get to make this. And then I would have to say that it's about 98, 99, maybe 97, somewhere in there when Twister came out. And I just was floored. And I went on a Steven Spielberg like run and watched all of his movies. I'm talking E.T., everything, right? I just watched everything I could get my hands on that was his. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to be a filmmaker.
So yeah, that sounds very similar to, most of our stories. You know what I mean? Like, or at least how we got involved with like love of movies or whatever. Like mine was Empire Strikes Back. Like I was 4 years old, and it's my first actual memory was coming online basically in the middle of Empire Strikes Back. So I don't know if that's true or not, or if it's just something that I've imagined, but it's literally the first memory that I can actually remember. So
Yeah,
that's
no, there was. I actually saw Star Wars the first time. It was on a Saturday afternoon when they would run old movies on uh, Channel 33, because I had basic
right.
TV back then. I don't know what it was, or 21, and they would show old movies. And one Saturday they showed A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and I watched all three in a Saturday afternoon. And I was just like, "This is great! How come I've never seen Star Wars before?"
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's like you get somebody at the right time, and it just instantly makes them a fan.
Oh yeah.
So training, like college, what did you like? How did you get started? You know what I mean?
So I went to college for something completely different. It was digital media marketing. Totally not the same, but we learned video. I keep hitting my mic. I'm sorry, but we learned video. But we did web design, graphic design, marketing techniques, and when I graduated, social media just became a thing. So everything I had learned was completely irrelevant. Like there was no Facebook when I graduated. I think Facebook just started, but it was in its weird only college students could have it phase.
Yeah.
But I think there was MySpace, but that wasn't real, like social media. It was the infancy of social media.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I graduated school. My degree was crap, and so I had to just go get a food job, right, and work that for a while. But I wanted to go to film school during that time, and I kept looking at it and thinking about it, but I just couldn't think it was real. Like it wasn't a real thing I could do. And I was married at the time, and my wife was like, "Why don't you just quit doing food? We have money saved up. Just go try film and see what happens. See, call people and go to meetings, go to networking things, see what you can do." And so I did that for 6 months, and I was calling people, and by that time, because this is years and years and years later, so this is like 2010 ish, something like that, 2009, 2010 ish, and I did it, and it started to work. I started to get jobs. A lot of them were free or low paying at the beginning. A lot of people have to deal with that, and I got experience, and it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, when did you? Because I looking through your IMDb, right? You did. It looks like you wrote and directed Field of Fire and Ghost of Paper City, right?
Well, I did a pass. I did the screenplay of Ghost of Paper City,
Okay.
which was a fun and short. So we all got really paid, and it was really nice. And I got to direct that, and that was my first, because everybody wants to be a writer director when they first start, right? Oh,
Hmm.
I want to direct. Most most people don't get to be that once they're finally in filmmaking. Most of them are everything else but that. So that was my first chance at it. And I said if I was going to direct something, I wasn't going to do it for free. So that was my first job of directing it, and I was paid for it. It was an interesting thing. We tried to make like a supernatural, fantasy drama about kind of like these witches and warlocks kind of like underground scene. They're kind of like the background of the country that run it secretly, and you know, it's like think of the mafia but witches. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's kind of how it was. It the executive producer and the writer kind of had a falling out, so it never came out. But it was a good concept to actually write and direct. And then Field of Fire was one of those things where I wanted to make a story about the Civil War, and I kind of wanted to try the directing thing again. And we crowdfunded, and I didn't think we were gonna get $5. We got like 1.5 times what we were looking for, and I was like, whoa. And so we went and made it. And actually, I just found out it won an award at a film festival. I don't even submit them, so I don't even know how they go to film festivals. I think some of my friends who were part of it still submit it. I just, it was really well done for 24-year-olds, at the time. Right. And we got to shoot on a red, which had just come out at that time, and we got all the cool bells and whistles because of that funding, and was able to do those shorts and win awards. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess the path is always interesting. Like you start off doing this, then you kind of get your feet wet and you look around and you go, okay, I like that. I kind of think I want to do that. And it's just kind of interesting to see, because it seems like you've sort of funneled yourself to like being in the being a first AD and
right.
Even a second AD. So like,
right.
What is it about that like draws you in, like inspires you, I guess?
That's a good question, actually. So when I first started, I wanted to be a director, right? Just like everybody else, we talked about that, and it didn't work out. Well, I guess it's not something I wanted to pursue. So I went into grip and electric. I worked that for a while, did some music videos, got kind of known in that department. Then I switched over to sound, and I started learning sound, and I became a sound op and a boom operator for a while, and that worked out pretty well. Got a little known, then switched over to art department. So I was building sets because I had a construction background, and I was actually in Austin working on a movie. I think it was Agenda Payback. It was on my IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
It had Sean Patrick Flannery and Eric Belfour in it. And one of the first AD, I had just worked on a movie in Dallas with her. This was in Austin. And she was like, Rudy, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm building this set. I was in there with, a nail gun, and I was on a rafter. And anyways, and she was like, hey, there's no second AD. Can you do it? I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. I'll do anything. And that was the moment I fell in love with ADing, was, the fact that I got to text Sean Patrick Flannery and tell him what time to be at work. And I was like, hey, you know what? This isn't bad. This is a good part of filmmaking. And I was hooked after that. I just second AD. Then I was blessed to be given the opportunity first, because you have to really trust your first. Most people don't just wake up and be like, I'm a first AD. No, that you have to really trust your first AD. And it was an honor to be able to do it. And then it just went movie to movie to movie. And then above first ADing is producing, executive producing, stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm in that transition between first AD and producer now.
Yeah, see, I mean, well, for those who don't already know, like I know, if Jim's still here, I'm not sure if whoever's listening, Rudy was instrumental to getting the Game Chasers movie where it was, because
it was hard too.
we didn't, I mean, Billy will agree with this, Jay will agree with this. We didn't know what we were doing, and you helped us funnel. And the one thing that it's like my goal every day, like from my perspective, was to try to do it better than the day before, because It was like I didn't really understand. And the weird thing is like at the end of it, we got finished. We're wrapping. I'm on my way home, and I'm like, you know what? I probably spent so much time getting into the details like marking down every cut, every take, and then
Right.
with time code and all that kind of stuff. But Billy, I knew Billy was going to watch every take anyway. So I really should have been paying more attention to continuity versus, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, being a script supervisor, God, it's probably one of the top 5 hardest jobs on set, and it is that detail work, because the detail work helps the editor, and I know that Billy is the editor, the actor, the director, the everything,
right,
right? But someday, if you do this again,
right,
it may not be Billy,
right,
and so you
right.
need that information. That's half of the job. The other half of the job is which hand was he holding when he got it right.
Yes,
And the director's like, that's the one, mark that. And you're like, oh shit, was he in the left or the right hand? Like, that's important,
right,
because if it's like this in one shot and then he's like this in the other, somebody's getting chewed out. You know what I
right.
mean? Like, or somebody's not working again.
Yeah,
And something like that for a script supervisor can be career ending.
right. And that's one of the things where it was like, it was something that I didn't really realize until it was all over. And it was like I couldn't go back, was that I really should have been paying more attention to that because, Billy's going to look at every take. And because we were only doing 4 or 5 takes in most cases, he was going to just watch everything. So the minute details of the super detail oriented stuff that I was trying to do wasn't as important. But hey,
It is important. I know you don't feel like it is, but it is,
well, it is
because
but like if the editor, because I'm thinking about like in terms of a typical movie, you don't have the director, writer, actor, editor all doing those things. You've got all these
right.
different people, so they don't know which one's the best or the one that the director liked the most and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I should have learned more about it beforehand and then tailored the job to what Billy needed. And I think Billy needed more continuity and watching that. I don't know. Hey, the movie
Well,
looks great so far.
yeah. I haven't seen anything yet, other than I think one of the trailers.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one I saw. But yes and no on everything you said. And I can say this: um, on every show that I've been on, where there's a new script supervisor and there's somebody new who's never done it before, I think you took it most serious than anybody else that I've been with. And you were like, "Hey, is this right?" And you were bringing me questions, and other people just sat in the corner, and, we're just writing it down, hoping for the best. But you're like, "Hey, is this right or is this not right?" And then I was like, "Hey, is this? Hell yeah!" And like, just bringing that attitude made that position that much more. And I know you don't think you did a good job, but you did a great job.
Well, my whole thing was, and I've said this to everybody that was on that set that doesn't already know me, was that my goal, what I wished I could have done is clone myself and just sat with everybody. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Because
mhm.
like Christine, blew me away. She was on here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I watched some of her podcasts.
Yeah, she's amazing. And the fact that I really said probably 12 words to her the whole time we were on set. And it was just because, I was being pulled in all these different directions.
She was being pulled. Yeah, because there's actually 3 different types of people on set. There's people who are prepping and working for the next day. There
Mm-hmm.
are people who are behind the scenes on set, making sure the day runs. And 3, there are people who are on set. And so we were the on-set people, making sure shit got shot. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And then she's behind the scenes, making sure we had food coming in and they were landing at a correct time, and all the other things, and making the schedule for tomorrow and making sides and doing all those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. You'd be surprised. I've done shows with my best friends and I don't see them any other time except for lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
that's, it was crazy.
it was fun
Hey,
though.
Jim said the world could use more Rob. That's pretty funny. Now, okay, so movie wise or project wise, does genre influence your decision to do it? Like, do you say, you know what?
Sometimes, actually.
I mean, do you say like,
Sometimes.
okay, I've done 3 horror movies in a row. I want to do something different. You know what I mean? Or does it?
It's mostly about like who the production company is for me, because
Mm,
there's a production company in Dallas right now that's under a lot of fire. I won't say who because it's really bad. I won't say what or why, but they're probably canceled. And they're the largest
mm,
one in Dallas. And I liked working for them because they pay decent. I'd say decent, medium. But there are other companies that I won't work for. And like I avoid pure flicks, and I'll say it right now. I avoid pure flicks like the plague, because they are the devils of Hollywood, which is funny because they're supposed to be faith based, and they're not.
Wow.
They're not. And I try to avoid them as much as I can.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I
I don't
mean,
care. I'll make faith. I've made faith based movies before. That stuff doesn't bother me. I don't care about the message. Like, but the way you treat the crew, how you pay, those things kind of irk me. It's like deciding to work for McDonald's or someplace in uptown Dallas. You know what I mean? Like it's
no.
like,
Right.
yeah. So
Now, I will say this, looking through your IMDb, there was not a whole lot I could watch. I was only able to watch 2 movies.
which ones?
I was able to watch Sick for Toys.
Oh Jesus, that was a fun one, by the way.
I just tell you everybody right now, it is a great family film. That I'm kidding.
It is not family friendly.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I did not know what I was in for. It was like, because I did the same thing with Christine. She sent me a list of all of her stuff, and I just watched all of it. I didn't care what it was about. I watched all of it because that's how I am. I want to know. So, can you tell me about like Sick for Toys? It's or like your experience on it, because you were
Sick.
You were first
I was
AD
the
on
first.
that.
I was first. Yeah, Sick for Toys was the second or third thing I'd ever firsted. So it was early on in my career. Funny story how I got the job for Sick for Toys, which is hilarious. So I share memes like crazy on Facebook, right? People call me and text me, "Hey man, that meme you shared yesterday was on point." Anyway, so I was sharing memes. Out of nowhere, I get a Facebook message from one of my friends, Cutter Ray, and he had put me into a Facebook group message with John Paul, who played the brother on that movie, and said, "Who?" He says, Cutter says, "Hey, this is my friend Rudy. He's the first AD in Dallas. He shares the best memes. I know you're looking for a first AD. You should use him." So the memes got me the job. John Paul called me. We had a couple of meetings. They came to Dallas. We ended up shooting that in Nacona, Texas, which is about 3 or 4 hours northwest of Dallas. And it was a fun movie. So very, very low budget. I think our whole budget was maybe $100,000, which is nothing. And they did a lot with that. They had a bunkhouse on this property because we're on this like beef cattle property place, and they had a bunch of guest houses all together there, and so like most of the crew stayed there. Like 3 or 4 of us stayed in the hotel that was in town, which is the only one, and it was actually a really nice hotel. I was surprised at that. Usually it's not nice when it's the only one in town. But it was fun. Like, producers were in the kitchen cooking because they couldn't afford catering, and it was really cool.
I mean, it's one of those where at first I'm like, it's starting, and I'm like, okay, this is it, and then but it's a crazy movie, and it's
so insane.
It's very strange, but I did enjoy it, and it's weird because I'm sitting there and I'm watching, kind of the, like, again, since I've been on a set before now, I'm looking at every movie differently now. It's really insane how your brain switches. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, this looks like it was fun, because there was a lot of.
It was very fun.
Yeah, it just looked like it was a blast. So, yeah.
So the opening sequence of that, where it's like going around and seeing the Christmas lights.
Yes.
So we were on a JL Fisher dolly, which is like $100,000 dolly. They were able to get for like super cheap rental, surprising. And the DP of that, his name's Ryan. It's a phenomenal DP, probably one of the best ones I've ever worked with. And he was like, okay, we're going to rehearse this 10 times, and then we're going to shoot at 5, and that whatever we get is what we get. So, I mean, we're on a dolly, just like moving slowly, and it's a free dolly. So it's not on a track, right? So there's a dolly grip, like moving it around a while, changing the dials to aim it and change it. And so the DP is moving the head on there was so much that had to happen. We had multiple different cues down this whole crazy line, and then our department did phenomenal. They set that whole thing up. That was an empty warehouse when they built it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like $500 worth of Christmas decorations in there alone. It was ridiculous.
That was, I mean, like I said, it was one of those where I'm like, okay, this is gonna be okay, Christmas horror, okay, cool,
Mhm.
and then okay, she's just gonna okay, all right, this is it was just funny. It was just like it just kept ramping up, like the
Yeah,
expectations. It was just kind of fun. So, but
yeah.
yeah, the other movie that I got to watch was Howlers
Oh Jesus.
or High Moon. If you're looking for it, it is on
It's High
Amazon
Moon
Prime.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I who picked that up? Do you remember who was in the front of it? Was it Sony? One of them picked it up. Sony or Lionsgate or somebody like that picked up that movie.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
So I was the second AD on Howlers, which was my first time in a movie that size. Um, and it was probably not a good first movie for me, considering like if you go on film sets today, and it could be anywhere in Texas, and they'll be like, "Oh, Crafty was really bad today." And they're like, "Well, at least it's not Howlers." That's how bad that movie was. It has a bad reputation around
Wow.
everywhere. There's a lot. I could go on about Howlers for at least the next hour, but I won't. There's a lot of stuff that went wrong on that. There's a lot of stuff that went right on that. And Josh, who's a friend of mine, who's the director of that, he is able to pull out a movie. I mean, it still kind of had campy, cheesy parts to it, but I've actually never seen it to this day. I was just there when it was when we shot it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that because I watched again. I'm one of those people that you put almost anything on in front of me. If it's a movie, I'll watch it. And I watched the whole thing, and it was campy. It is cheesy.
Oh yeah.
But it's actually pretty fun. I mean, the idea of an old gunslinger coming back to life to fight a werewolf motorcycle gang. Yeah, it's it's fun.
Well, I can tell you, Josh has sent me a few scripts since then, and I just like his style, man. I like the stuff he writes, and as campy as that movie came out to be, like it was still fun,
Yeah.
and it was fun to make, even though it had all kinds of problems, and they weren't Josh's fault. They were producers above him and stuff that caused all the problems on the show, but it was still fun, man. It was.
It's funny too because I feel like the idea, maybe the execution it didn't come out exactly the way he wanted it, but I
Right.
feel like he's got like the core of the movie is actually kind of an interesting idea, and I kind of want to see because what's his name, Cody, is that the main character? I can't remember. But it says something at the end where
It's been
he
too
will
long.
return. It's,
Oh yeah.
so it was kind of like, okay, so
Yeah,
are we
he
gonna?
has the yeah, he has this kind of like noir, old style, retro style, like the 80s horror movies. I just love that about what he's doing. It's horror action. And he's kind of always been like kind of that writer director where he mixes genres. Like there's a
Mhm.
futuristic script that he sent me. I can't go into what it is, but it's got action, it's got monsters in it. It's all over the place. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like he just
Yeah.
mixed all this and just put it together. I'm like, that's great. And he's got a couple other movies out.
Yeah, I need to look into that because I like his style too. I think it's fun. And then it was kind of interesting to see the Rocket in it.
The Rocket.
The club that we filmed day one, Game Chasers.
Oh
is,
yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah,
The Rocket Cafe. Yeah.
yeah. It was really
Yeah.
kind of interesting to see a fight scene in there. I mean, it was just I don't know. It was just like, holy crap, the Rocket! As soon as
So-
they pulled in, it was like, oh my god.
So funny story that day. I had something to do, so I showed up to set that day, got the day prepped, and then I had to leave. So I was there for like maybe 30 minutes, an hour, and I had to leave and go do something else. And I didn't get to see all that. I heard it was crazy. The problem with that schedule in that movie is a little over scheduled, meaning like, oh, we have 10 pages to shoot today. That's not possible,
Right.
especially with stunts, especially with extras, especially with everything else. And there's a lot of stuff that didn't get shot because of that.
So that was a rough day, huh?
So I was told. I wasn't. I mean,
Right.
it was almost. Excuse me. It was almost every single day was like that, though. For instance, there was one day where we had to put everybody in the wolf makeup, right? And that took supposed to be 2 hours per person. So 12 hours later, they were just finishing finishing all their makeup, and then we wrapped, so we didn't get to shoot them.
Wow. I bet they were very, very happy.
Not happy about that. And they, you know, I don't blame them because you have to sit in the chair. I mean, some of them were sitting in the chair for 6 hours each. And it's just like, you know, if we're going to do that kind of stuff, you know, makeup artists, special effects artists, they got to be real about the time. You know, that was the one thing I learned. They're like, oh, yeah, I can do that in 30 minutes. Can you? Can you do that in 30 minutes? And I say that in the pre-production because if you're wrong and at 30 minutes I pull them, it's your ass, not mine. So it's like.
And that's one of those weird things, too, about watching that movie. It was like the characters, and maybe this is part of what you're talking about. Sometimes the makeup looked better on certain scenes than it did on others. Yeah. So I'm guessing there was like time crunch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, the first AD was Jeff, who's freaking amazing, and he was like, "I don't care where they're at, just pull them out of the chair. They're in the background." You know, and like that's what he would say, and I'm like, "Okay, you got to go to set." Jeff's telling me you got to go to set. I don't care. You know, and I was the one kind of taking all the flack from the makeup team and the special effects team because I was the one that was there telling them, "Hey, I need you and you to get ready. You have 2 hours." "Well, I need 4. "Well, sorry." They're like, what you get done in 2 hours is what you get done. We're gonna see this side of his face, so focus on that. You know, like
right. Oh yeah, that was. I like I said, it's a fun movie. Go check it out, guys. If you want to have a, I mean, if you're not sold on the synopsis already, then I don't know what to tell you. So let's get into Game Chasers.
Okay.
Because I want to. There's a lot that I don't know about. Like, how did you get involved? Like, who was the person that got you onto it?
The long-haired producer, Scott, was that his name? Scott.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Scott. Sorry. He reached out to me, and you know, he said, "I'm making a movie in Dallas. You know, I need to, you know, talk to you about being first AD and send me a resume." And I don't normally send resume. I know that sounds kind of like pompous jackassy, but it's like I you know, filmmakers get known to a certain point in the scene, and they're like, you know, you think of this filmmaker, that's an audio person. You think of this filmmaker, it's a first AD. So it's like Rudy's known as first AD. Like I don't need to send anything, but
prove yourself.
You know, yeah, and it still sounds like not humble at all, but you know, I'm just not used to it. Usually I can be like, here's my IMDb, like that's enough. But anyway, so I sent the resume, and everything was, you know, was good. And I met with Billy like once, and then I met with he wanted me to meet with Jay, and then we met with Jay, and that was cool. And then we met, I think, one more time before I even got the job. So, but they kept asking me, so how do we do this? Or what do we do this? And I felt like we would sit there for 2 hours, and I would just like dump 10 years of filmmaking experience onto them. Like, oh, well, you want this, or oh, you want to rent this, or you want to buy this, or don't hire that person. You know, like
right.
That's how it went. And I'm not sure if they interviewed any other people. I would like to think they did, but eventually, I guess I got the job.
Yeah, I mean, so like I assume it's because of that sort of almost like that info dump, but
probably
your prep for the movie, was it different than any of the other movies because of that, or like how was that?
I think it was because when I prepped this movie, usually, and I don't like this actually, but usually producers already have a schedule, right? They already make a schedule, and they give it to the first AD to cater. So in prep, they're fixing it, right? So by the time you get to prep, the actors have been cast usually. Things have been decided. And so the schedule has to be done, and the best person to do it is a producer. Now they may hire a first AD, because I've been hired by producers just to make a schedule and send it off. But they always give it over to the first AD by the time you start it. This show, however, I got to make the entire schedule. So I made it from the first day on. And then once we made it, I feel like there was just a little bit of tweaks for scheduling issues.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Billy makes fun of this, actually. He says, I think you might have heard it on set too, because he'd be like, "Oh, so and so can't be here tomorrow," and I would just look at him and be like, "We're too low budget, recast." Like,
right? No, I remember that.
Truth. We can't. You know, anytime there's a problem, he'd be like, "Recast." He'd just yell it out on set. I'm like, "I'm sorry, man. It's the truth. I mean, unless we're doing Avatar for $300 million, we can't wait." we got everybody here. We got everything going. If they don't show up, they don't show up. Somebody else is the part.
So was that I guess that was a good thing then, that you were able to build kind of like,
Oh
it's almost
yeah,
like build it from scratch, and you got to bring
yeah.
in a lot of people, right?
Well, when I build it, I usually just sit in a dark corner, kind of like this one, actually. and I and I just build it, and I put on some music and I read the script twice, three times sometimes, and then I just input it into Movie Magic, which is the software we use, and I build it, and then I send off my first draft, and they're like, oh, well, we can't have this place this day, we can only have it this day, or so and so is only available this week, and blah blah blah. And then I change it to that as much as I can, but a lot of the times I have to deliver. Hey, I know you wanted this person for this week. It's not happening. We can't do that, because a lot of indie films will try to cater to talent, and they'll be like, oh, we've got, this name, and it's like some D actor that works like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like from like 80s horror films or 80s action films. And, I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't matter because it doesn't work with your schedule. And they will often try to be like, okay, we're going to be at the cafe this day, and then 2 weeks later, be back at the cafe this day. Like, first off, that doesn't work for the cafe. Secondly, that's going to cost us more money because we have to full wrap out and go to somewhere else, come back to the place, set it all back up. It's like you have to think about, what the time is going to take to shoot, who's going to have to be there, what's going to have to be there, how long you're going to be there, how long do you have, and there's like 500 variables you have to pay attention to. So when an indie film producer hands you a schedule where it's like 10 different days, spread across 3 weeks, but it's all in the same place, that's pretty, horrible to your budget and the crew. So anyways, I try to make it work for this show, and being able to make the schedule for this first and give them back a draft that worked. You trust your person you hire. I mean, they hired me because of my experience. They hired me because they knew I could get it done. So trusting me is, or trusting the person you hire is such a big deal in this industry. And I think that's why I was able to be a shot.
Well, it was kind of funny because it was like and Billy and Jay and I have talked about this. The meeting that we had, what was it, like a week and a half before shooting or something like that. Mo was there, Peter was there, and we were all kind of sitting there going like, oh my God. We are like, I felt like there was a part of me that was like, I want to speak up, but I also feel like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm just going to stay quiet and just listen and take it all in. And it was funny because Billy said, I think it was Jay that said that was the day when he was like, okay, we're doing this. It felt real to him, but they were also scared out of their minds. And it was like, oh my God, there was, you know what I mean? It's just, it was such an eye-opening experience for, well, all of us. Jay, I remember Jay saying that was the day it was like, oh my God.
It's for real. And I could sense the worry off of Billy and Jay. I could sense it. It's part of my job, right? And so I said to him, I was like, guys, don't get it in your head. I was like, just, if you want to go left, you want to go right, I don't care. Just make a decision and we're going to go that way. I will advise you the best I can, but ultimately this is your movie. I don't care what you put on the screen. I just want to make sure you're happy with it. And I think they were.
Oh, well, yeah, the one thing that it's like I'm sitting there next to Billy, Jay's down there, and I look over and I'm going, he's the guy in charge. He's the guy that's going to get this done. And it was the first time that I actually realized that, I guess from an outsider standpoint, that the first AD is like, the director sits there and goes, yeah, I want a shot of this and all that. But it's the first AD that actually gets it done.
Yeah, and it's part of why I chose the job, just because I wanted the hardest job on set. I've always been like that.
Again, I don't want to like blow smoke up your ass or anything like that, but I'm telling you, it was like, there was a bit of it was like, oh my God, but it was almost okay, it's actually going to get done. You know what I mean? I don't know, from my standpoint.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's how I felt. It was like I was scared, but I was also like, okay, well, as long as I can trust the process, then yeah, it's going to get done.
Now, there's a lot of time.
Oh,
go ahead. No, I was going to say there's a lot of times that even when trusting the process, I had to let Billy and Jay know bad news.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not shooting that today. Or hey, that shot, it's going to take too much time. Sorry, buddy. And I think by the third day, Billy was like, do we have enough time to do 4 shots in here? I'm like, you can do 5. And he was like, yes. And he was like so happy because I think he had I want to have this drone shot and I want to put this crane in here. I'm like, well, this is a low budget movie. That's not happening.
Right.
Like we could do certain things and we can make it look like it's a big budget movie, but at the end, it's how many setups can the crew build before the end of the day? And it depends on all those variables. I have to, like, I'm in my head, I'm that math lady meme, just sitting there trying to solve all these problems.
Right.
Like, okay, this actor's not getting here till then, and this car's not here, or this car's effing broken down again. Like it's kind of.
Oh my God, the damn car.
I hope they Office Space that by the end of this. Just hit it with a hammer.
I don't know. I think they'll probably end up fixing it and then probably selling it off or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but man, I hope. Yeah, there was a cup that. Well, we did some pickup shots, sort of like drone shots and stuff, a couple of weeks after shooting, and the car died. Like completely died. Yeah, and it was like, I mean, I have my iPhone video of walking up to it, and that's Jay's trying to talk to me, and that's all you can hear is that car, and it bumping and knocking and all that stuff. But
jeez,
rip car. But so how did you build the team like around you? Like who was Larissa the first one, and then you kind of moved on, or like how did that work?
So I know she says Larissa, but I call her Larissa. It's just easier for me. I know she hates it. Sorry if you're watching this. So Larissa and I have kind of formed this partnership to where she gets booked on a movie, she books me. If I get booked on a movie, I book her. And we work so well together. We solve so many problems together. Like I know what she's thinking before she says it. She knows what I'm thinking. It's really helpful. Also likes that she doesn't take shit from anybody. So there's been times where producers are like, we're doing this. And she's like, we're doing what? You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, is that okay? But so needless to say, she was booked immediately, right? And she wanted to transition kind of out of the AD department because she's a phenomenal AD, into the higher roles, line producing, UPM, producing, any of those roles. And so I said to them, I was like, look, she has no credits as this, but she can definitely do this job. She'll do it for a cheaper rate. She just wants the title so she can continue on. And that's what happens on these lower movies. Like we try to get the titles we want for less pay so that we can use them for the next movie. But hey, I was a producer on that movie. And they're like, oh, yeah, you can produce mine. That's how this industry works. I think a lot of industries work the same way. But so she took the line producing job and she did phenomenal. And, she recommended Christine. I think it was her that recommended it.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
That's what Christine said.
And then I interview her because I'm one of those people that don't just accept people. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because you'll get hired on a job. They're like, oh, we built your whole AD department. I'm like, no, you didn't. And I'll interview them. And I've let people go before even shot because they were not experienced enough to do that budget level or I didn't like their attitude or something. But yeah, and that's how. And then I think when Christine was on, she recommended Odette and Notorio, and that's how they got on.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of fun to see the pieces like quickly falling into place. You know what I mean? And I just remember like Billy and I went and met with a guy for cinematographer in like downtown Fort Worth. And he wanted the world, of course, and then he wanted his whole crew to be a part of the movie.
Exactly who you're talking about, too.
Yeah, and we didn't know, we liked the guy. He seemed like he was a nice guy, but then it was after the meeting ended, it was like that's when all the demands started coming in, and it was like, okay, So I was really pleased, Of course, Peter was awesome.
Yeah.
He did an amazing job. So I was just like, and it was just kind of interesting to see all those pieces fall into place and then go, okay, I'm here day one. I don't know any of these people, but you know what? I think Rudy's got it. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me, at least, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, and
did you figure that out at the safety meeting? Like our first meeting of day one?
What
the first meeting of the day where I say, all right, guys, welcome to day one. This is what we're doing today. Here are my rules for the whole show, blah, blah, blah. That's what I usually say on day one.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out then?
Well, no, I really learned to trust you in that first meeting, the meeting that we had at that little meeting place in downtown
Darlington or
Arlington.
wherever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. At that point, I was like, okay, I don't know this guy, but he seems to know what he's doing. And
Yeah.
it was like Billy would ask a question and go, yeah, that's not going to happen. And it's like, okay. But it was one of those things where it was like, you have to know those things. And
Yeah,
you
I have to have
be,
already been in that situation to know that you can't shoot that shot and spend, we don't have time to spend 6 hours on a baby shot that's gonna last 2 seconds in the movie, even though directors want it, and they're like, you have to be the bearer of bad news.
Right.
So,
but it was like I said, it was eye opening, scary, but it was like, oh my God, it's actually happening kind of thing. And then when I got that safety meeting, that first meeting, I was like, wow. This is bigger than I thought it was going to be. This is okay.
Oh, because we showed up and there was catering and breakfast.
Everything
and
was there.
And
this
whole like little army of people and stuff just landed at that place.
It was, I mean, but I remember like Eric, because Eric was on here a couple of weeks ago too. He said that he was very intimidated, like immediately. And just because he was like, I thought this was going to be like a YouTube video where we're just kind of setting some stuff up or whatever. He goes, I didn't know it was this big production. And he said that he like texted one of his friends that apparently works in movies in LA, low budget,
Yeah.
But he said Eric took a picture and sent it to him and he goes, that's a bigger crew than I've ever seen.
So the guy in LA said that?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he must be working some prettier, smaller stuff, but
like 50 grand budget shows.
Yeah. But Eric was still like, okay. And it was like, that's why it's weird because Eric turned on this super professional attitude right at the beginning, but it worked. And then it started to, I mean, let's just be honest. It started to rub people the wrong way a little bit from time to time. And then it evened out and everybody we rolled with it. But it was just...
No, he wasn't... I actually had a lot of fun with Eric. He wasn't... It wasn't really that bad. And I saw it, and I was going to mention this in your podcast when we were going to do it, but I saw Christine already mention it, that he read the whole damn book. And he was coming out there, he's like, all right, guys, settle in. Really quiet now. I was like, you're getting it.
Yeah, that was... well, it was very valuable. I wish I would have had that, day one. The realisms, get realisms.
Yeah, and I also told him this. After seeing him act and the way he was in his comedic timing, I pulled him aside and said, hey, you have this.
Yeah.
You need to get an agent. You need to start doing auditions. You have it.
Yeah.
You really do have it. He has it enough to where he can literally go to Hollywood and be in all the comedy movies and be the comedic timing guy who's all the small parts, but those small parts guys still make millions. You know what I mean? Like he could go be a bad guy on Guardian of the Galaxy 4 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like a bad goon that's funny. That'd be him 10,000 times. Like he'd be in every movie like that. And he hasn't. He needs to go do it.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of... It was weird because I remember when we first started reading it, it was like I remember leaving the read-throughs and going, Eric's going to be a star after this. You know what I mean? Right. And then it's so weird because when I read the script, Morton or Dave,
Oh my God, Gamer Dave. I loved him in that whole show.
He played it completely. Like I read the script, I don't know how many times, lots of times. And I never got, what Dave brought to it was completely different. And it was like, it took me a couple of days to really adjust because I was like, that's not how I imagined it. I mean, of course, it's not my movie or anything like that.
That happens. No, you're absolutely right. That happens in every show I've ever been on. I'll read a script and be like, oh, the bad guy's like this. And I get there and it's completely different. And I think it's just because everybody's imagination is different. And, especially actors, they're going to come up with a different way. Yeah. And regardless of how you imagined it.
Yeah. And he brought something like there were little, the little aside kind of rehearsals, y'all are setting up stuff and then we'll just read the script real fast, and just kind of go through it and go, yeah, dude, try this, instead. Yeah. He said things about that character. Like, of course, I can't say a whole lot because I don't want to give anything away.
Right.
But he said things about that character that I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. And it's because he was living in that character's mind. You know what I mean? And I wasn't.
Right.
I was just
Right.
reading face value. And it was just fun to see kind of I don't know, like the metamorphosis of those characters into something brand new. Because it was like Billy brought something into it by writing it, and then they brought into this like a real life, the actual life into it.
Yeah,
And
no, for sure. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, it's one thing that you said that made a big impact on me is I think it was, in fact, I even think it was Saturday, the first Saturday at the house, the kids, and it was Billy and Jay doing their, their kind of, their dialogue outside. And I said, man, I'm really impressed with the, they're getting the lines and they're getting, they're
Right.
going through it. And he said, yeah, but you got to be careful because it's not all about just hitting the lines. You've got to say the lines in a way that seems natural for that character on screen. I don't remember
Right.
exactly your words,
It's something like that.
but it made me go, yeah, I didn't. It was one of those things where I probably instinctively knew it, but I didn't know it in that. I don't know. It was really helpful for me. And it was like, okay, so now I know the difference. It's not just hitting those lines at the right time. It's got to feel like the character's coming up with that line, or it's just saying that line naturally. It's a real person.
Right.
So-
And I've been in that situation multiple times where we talked about how dialogue is delivered. And because, I mean, just sitting on a park bench talking to your friend is different when there's a camera in front of you.
Right.
And so it's like a subconscious thing to where you're like, so how was your day? Like
Right.
as you're looking at the camera, and it's like you're weirded out by it, right? It makes you nervous. And that's a natural thing. I can't tell you how many actors I've said in there, I'm like, hey, I pulled them aside, I'm like, hey, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. If I need to pull people out of the room, you just tell me. You know what I mean? Like, we'll make this a calm environment for you to do what you need to do. And that's helped so many actors and actresses, like, oh, okay. And it's like just a camera guy in there, you know what I mean? And me, and I go in there, okay, rolling in action. And I walk out of the room and let them do their thing. And then, actresses and actors came up there and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so helpful. Thank you so much for doing that. So,
Yeah. And it was like, I feel like that day with the kids, it was the first day, and it was actually that Saturday when, your daughter hung out with me for a bit, but it was that day I felt like we hit another gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I felt like,
the
oh my
machine was
God.
starting to go.
And I said, oh my God, we actually have something here. This isn't just, let's film this scene and hope it fits in with the last scene that we filmed or whatever. I felt like, oh my God, this is going to be okay. Like I got that excitement, that giddiness, and it got me through. I remember it got me through that day. So it was like,
And I think that was the day, like that morning, I couldn't be there or something.
yeah,
Yeah. And then who was the first? Was it Larissa? Was first
I
thing?
think so.
Oh, it was her. And that was
Yeah.
the day with all the planes, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a World War II reenactment show going on. So they had the big, like, propeller planes that were so loud.
Well, and then there was all the cars going by. So it was,
Yeah.
we were trying to time the cars and then the planes. And
Yeah.
then Peter just started filming the planes because he was like, well, maybe you can use this. You can just kind
Yeah.
of say, hey, are we going to go to the air show later? Whatever.
Yeah, we roll on the fly like that.
was-
Sometimes you have to.
It was fun to see that.
And
You know what
see,
I mean?
if we had more money, I could have gotten ITC, intermittent traffic controls. What that stands for? Basically, you hire cops and they put them on a radio, and we say, okay, shut down the street, roll camera, and they'll lock off the streets for us. And every cop, depending on the city, is $20 to $50 an hour, and usually only need them for like 2-3 hours.
Right.
And it's so helpful to do that. And that's something I had mentioned to them in prep, and they're like, "Oh, we'll be fine. We'll be fine." Were we fine?
yeah, that was, and it was funny because there were those, I just don't understand it. It was the same on the day with the swap meet. You remember? It was at a house, a corner house, where we also filmed another scene. It was a house that we'd rent. Anyway,
I slept.
yeah. Anyway, there's it's all very vivid to me, but like all the traffic going by, and it was like people would like slowly creep by, and you're like, okay, you're almost being helpful, and then they would rev their engine, and you're like,
Well, I love the ones that honk at you. Like,
Yeah.
you know that we're rolling, you know that we're shooting, but you're honking at us. Way to be a jackass.
Yeah, I
Like,
just don't
ay, ay,
it's
ay.
I don't understand that kind of uh I don't know, that kind of attitude. But so overall, like, you know, now that you've stepped away from it, it's been what, 6 months, 6, 7 months, however
Been a
long it's been.
while.
Yeah. But I mean, do you feel
8 or 9 months
like,
now, I think.
yeah, do you feel like, how do you feel it went? Like from your perspective, do you feel like we did a good job? Or was it like, man, there were some issues? Like, how did you feel about it?
I think every show has issues, but honestly, I think it went fine. I think that Billy and Jay were really happy in the end, and that's what I told him is like, I'm gonna do this job that you asked from me, but if I deliver you bad news or tell you can't do something, remember this one important detail: I'm here to fight for your vision. I'm here to get your vision done, and I will fight as much as I can. But the moment I can't give you something, please don't take it personally and don't take it out of me or the crew. If I can't tell you we can't shoot this, we can't shoot it. But I'm thinking of the whole picture. Like I want to shoot. If you have a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get you 99 out of the 100 pieces.
Right.
99 out of 100 pieces gets you most of your movie. And he was like, yeah, he's like, that's great. And I think that might have also helped sell me on the job. But it is true though. Like every show that I'm on, if the director says, here's 100 pages of one I want to shoot, I don't give a shit what I got to do. Those are the 100 pages we're going to shoot. And obviously some stuff happens and we don't get to shoot all of it, but
Yeah.
at least we're going to try. But ultimately, I think it went really smooth.
Well, good. I mean, I guess my whole thing is it's almost like setting you up for the inevitable sequel. Hopefully we can have you back.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be there for sure. Me and Billy, we still talk every now and then, and we always joke about what the next title is going to be.
Right.
Grandpa's Revenge and shit like that. Like Ghost Getters or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I'm afraid. Like I told him this, I'm like, dude, if you make a Ghost Getters movie, we could get sued just because of Ghostbusters. They'll find a way to tie us to that somehow, and they'll sue us. And I was like, but the worst suing that will happen is, hey, we want a bunch of your money because we became famous, which fuck it, sue us. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Or it gives us notoriety, which is,
right. Which
there's no such thing as bad press. Right. Exactly. So it's in my mind, it's like, okay, sue us. Yeah, whatever. We'll settle. We don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's almost like the way Billy treats the trolls, because he's got an insane amount of trolls on his, out there on YouTube. There's whole channels that are devoted to, hating on the Game Chasers for some reason. But it's like, the reason you have those guys is because you've gotten some success here, so
exactly.
It's a, I don't know. I know that he's got his days where he just wants to punch holes in the wall, but
I just, speaking of haters on Billy and Jay, is like, after working with them, I just don't see how you could hate those guys. Like, yeah, they, Jay can rub you wrong sometimes, but
or go missing at lunch.
He's for freaking McDonald's, but he's still a good guy. Like, I don't know. I just can't see it. I'm shocked that you said there's a channel that hates on them. I just don't see that.
It's crazy, and it's like, what was funny was, like, I don't know if you saw what was it? I guess it was 2.5 weeks ago. Billy released a 3-minute trailer.
Oh, like a mini trailer. Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I watched this YouTube video of a guy basically going, okay, I'm ready to bash it. So he pulls up his Nintendo Switch to watch it on there, which I'm like, great production value, guy. But anyway, he's sitting there watching it and he goes, yeah, and there's blah, blah, blah. And he's talking to this. And then he gets quiet for like a minute. And I'm like, ha, you got sucked in. You got sucked into the story without even realizing it. And then he's like, okay, well, I guess, we're not. And he turns it off really quick, almost angry because I feel like there's some part of him that liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was even, and it's like, if you're not the kind of stuff that Billy has done so far, and I've seen a lot of it, of course, we're still working together and doing stuff. I am so impressed and I'm so pleased because go ahead.
No, I saw him editing on the channel, and I don't think he knew it was me on Twitch.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Wait, is that Rudy? Rudy?" That's what he said. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I don't remember shooting this." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's this." And he was replacing one of the scenes where Eric is high up in the air, and he was like rotoscoping out his hand so he could change the background.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, this is actually becoming something," because he showed me like what the final result would look like, and it looked really good, and I was really impressed.
I'm well, I'm helping with, because of course, because of my Crohn's, I have to take the stuff that knocks down my immune system to keep my Crohn's in check, but it's also making me more susceptible to the virus, so I haven't left the
Oh
house
yeah,
really at all. Like today, I dropped my car off. I literally jumped out of the car and stood away from it, signed the thing, and jumped in the car and left. And it's like I don't have any contact with anybody right now.
yeah.
So I can't go over there and help him with stuff or do, maybe just sit there and watch him edit and stuff like that and just go, hey, if you tighten up this. But I'm helping with the sound editing, right? Just cleaning up some of the sound stuff.
Okay.
And a nice little bonus to that is I get to hear all the talk in the background before, you know what I mean? And I hear, I'm telling you, there's one that cracked me up. It's that
I've been in those rooms.
It's okay, so it's like I'm trying to remember the scene. I know you'll remember the night, cold night toward the end,
Okay.
the carnival scene.
Oh yeah. Cold
And
night.
yeah,
Cold.
and in the background, we got movement. And
I bet I was like, "What the F are
you're
you
like,
doing?"
yeah, it was so funny. I was cracking up because it's, of course I have to cut that off, or mute it or whatever.
Right.
But I'm sitting there listening to it going, I remember that night, because it was like, it's so far in the distance, but you can see, people walking around the cars or whatever.
Right.
And you're like, hey, we're shooting, damn it. And then there's another one where, Leon is off in the forest, blowing smoke in. And you go, Leon, we can hear you, because he's crunching around in the dead leaves. Oh,
He's like, "Well, what do you want me to do about it?" I was like, "I don't know. Stand still."
yeah, it was so fun. And, talking to him on here, he's been like, there were days that were just really rough because it was, he was a department of one,
Right.
but he really had a great time too. And hopefully he can come out when we do the next one or whatever, try to plan for it. I don't know how we're going to do it. If and when it happens, I mean, we'll,
Well,
fingers crossed.
there's been some things. I can tell you this. I put out my feelers on this project for a sequel, and I'm gonna wait to talk to Billy about this. But I think if he can show some sort of ROI that comes back to him for this, I can get him funded for a real one. Don't, yeah, you heard it first here, guys.
Yeah.
So
That's one of those things that just,
like, probably 3 times the budget, and that would be good. Like,
yes.
Billy doesn't have to edit this time.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
we pay for a rental house in LA that does it. I mean,
that's
he
one
gets
of
to go there and sit, but yeah.
That's one of those things that I think in a lot of ways, it's like, I feel like he's getting, it's so strange because I feel like in a way, I feel like the crew, I mean, of course, you're doing it for the credit. You're doing it for the job. You're getting paid to do a job. But my whole thing was that, I've known Billy since 94 and I just wanted to help him any way I could, the best way I could. So for me, what do you call that? I'm almost projecting that on everybody else. And I just wanted to hug everybody every day. I was like, oh, I'm so glad you're here and helping. But of course, a lot of y'all were getting paid and doing, you know what I mean? You were doing it for a purpose.
Yeah.
But do you think from that point of view, almost this kind of, I feel like it was still kind of a guerrilla filmmaking in a way. There was a lot of toying with things and trying different things. But do you feel that that's important on a passion project?
Well, it's this movie was a half and half passion project because half the people there were his friends and and then people who were part of Game Chasers and people who've known him for the whole life. The other half were people who were there for to eat the next day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
to pay their bills. Um, I think that attitude is important on both sides because it becomes a passion project by the end for everyone, even if
Right.
you're getting paid or not. And it also depends on the attitude. Were there days where we all were pissed at each other? Absolutely. Were there days where me and Billy butted heads, or me and Jay, or that god awful waiter at the Rocky Cafe? Any of those people, like we butted heads, but we also were like laughing by the end of the day. We didn't take any of that stuff home with us.
Right.
And I think because there's such a big, you guys are such a big group of friends, I think that kind of included all of us, and it became a passion project by the end.
Well, and I think I remember it was the day in the auditorium when it was at some breakfast, and Jay said, "Hey, just to let you guys know, I see that there's this kind of separation, and it's almost like because I think it was Leon who brought it up to Jay. It said, yeah, this isn't normal for the cast to be like sitting with the crew and hanging out with the crew and talking with the crew." And he said, yeah, and he said, so we don't look at it that way. You guys are helping us do this thing, and you're welcome at our table, and I hope that we're welcome at yours. And you know what I mean? It was like a real coming together, and I felt like we hit another level just because of that simple, hey, let's break down the wall of whatever you call that.
No, absolutely. And I've been on bigger shows and bigger sets where the actors like come down and eat pasta with you at lunch. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're just like you don't know what to do. You're just kind of quiet and listening to them talk. And when he said that, though, that was a big moment, I think, for transitioning into a good project for everyone involved. Not saying there wasn't before, but I mean,
Right.
it kind of put the nail in right there, for it to be liked by everybody. And kind of, I don't know, it's just that's how it is in film. We don't, I'm not gonna go sit down at a table with Mel Gibson. He's gonna look at me like I'm freaking crazy. Like,
Right.
hello. But I have sat down and had lunch with a few big actors before. It kind of just becomes part of the job, and you just don't really think about it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I felt so close to everybody. And then my biggest issue was, of course, my Crohn's. So there were days when I probably had, resting bitch face, because I'm not feeling great.
Or you're miserable. I don't think I remember that, though, but I think you were a trooper through the whole thing.
Well, I definitely had my days. Well,
oh yeah, for sure.
You remember, you will remember the day in the rink when I, Eric and I kind of got into it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That was one of my rougher days. But then even the last day of shooting, I was so wiped out, and it was like I regret not, getting into like everybody was like, oh yeah, and hugging and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, bye guys. I'm like I gotta go sleep.
F this, I'm out.
It's like looking back, that's one of my bigger regrets too, is that I feel like I wasn't, I don't know, friendly enough or nice enough, whatever. Like,
no, and I think at that point nobody took it. Don't get in your head about it. Nobody took it like that.
Okay.
Like I said, we all have our days where we butt heads. It's kind of part of the job. It's it's no different than any crew of anything else. But at the end of the day, like I tell everybody this in meeting one, we're not flipping burgers, we're making a movie. And
right.
So it's like Steven Spielberg said it best, I get to dream for a living.
Yeah.
How many people get to say they get to do that?
That's that's an awesome way to put it right there. I like that.
Yep.
So I've asked everybody this. So what was the worst day of filming for you?
On this show?
Mm-hmm. Even gosh, if you have other shows, that might be interesting too. But
the worst day on this show was the day. Dang, I don't know if I could say because it's kind of important in the movie.
I think I know what you're saying. When we couldn't shoot some things.
Yes. That we really wanted to.
And the temperature did this all day.
And then it started snowing.
Yeah.
And sleeting. That would be the day. Because when I had read that part of the script, I was like, oh my God, they have something here. This is something. This is going to be so great to shoot. It's going to be so great to put in the movie. And the fans are going to love it. And the fact that it came out about 30 or 40% of what they really wanted kind of bums me.
Yeah. Well,
And that was the worst day to me. It wasn't people. It was just we overscheduled ourselves, and partially that's my fault. And I was just really bummed about that because I really wanted to get that for them. I knew it would mean a lot.
well, and that's one of the things that I'm kind of excited about is that, we are going to be doing some possible reshoots and some pickups.
I
So,
figured that was coming, and if you guys do that, let me know. I will definitely come out. We'll figure out some days and we'll do some fun stuff.
yeah, I mean, we've got some plans,
Yeah.
but it's nothing set in stone yet because of, well, summertime and pandemics. So,
Yeah, so technically you can actually film now, but there's hardcore guidelines you got to follow. I don't think, a pickup shoot for Game Chasers is going to be a
right.
thing. Like, I don't
It's
think they're
on
going to
people's
care, but
radars.
right, but it's, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And
Yeah.
what's funny is speaking of pandemic and filmmaking, while this started, I was finishing a major movie, Till Death. It stars Jason Sudeikis, Evangeline Lilly, and Mike Coulter. And
Wow.
yeah, so we had The Wasp, we had Luke Cage there, and we had Jason Sudeikis from Saturday Night Live and all his movies. It was huge, right, for Dallas, huge for Dallas. And everybody was kind of talking about the set. You guys hear about this new virus everybody's getting? I was like, it's nothing. And then by the time we got off, they're like, we're shutting down the United States. And I was like, oh crap, what? I was dead to the world for 2 months on that show. I don't like
Wow.
what happened? It was like a complete shock to me because I didn't have time to look at my phone. I didn't have time to do anything. I was looking at schedules and reading scripts and sides. And I mean, we had stunts and we were shooting each
But
other
you
with
got through the
guns.
shoot
And
though.
yeah, it was, oh yeah. There were some long days on that. I think one day we went 18 hours straight because we had to. On a show that size, they pay overtime, right? But being there for 20 hours was rough.
That's actually, it's kind of one of those things that, excuse me, we haven't, like, nobody has really touched on is the fact that during the shoot, you're dead to the world. You really are just kind of
yeah.
like it's almost like coming out of prison or something. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you wake up. It's like,
Or
oh
you
my
went on a
gosh,
vacation for a month.
yeah, they're building a McDonald's over there, or you know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, so many things have changed,
Oh yeah.
and it's you have to like, it's like Captain America waking up, and you gotta,
Yeah, or you woke up to kill vampire bikers. I mean, werewolf bikers.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
But I mean,
no, absolutely.
it's like that on every shoot.
Every shoot. I think the longest shoot that I've been on was 3 months, and I was teaching my daughter how to read over FaceTime. It was rough because I wasn't here.
Wow,
I was traveling.
man. So what then? Okay, so that's insane. God, and I can't even imagine doing that for 3 months. But it'd be a fun challenge
I got a friend. I have friends that go on a show for 12 months.
because they're filming TV or.
$200 million movies.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
yes, they are the big ones that you're thinking of.
Okay. Wow.
And they're like, yeah, we'll go for 12 months. Sometimes we'll go 4 months on, 2 months off, 4 months on, 2 months off. So it's like a year and a half sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I just can't imagine like when they filmed the Lord of the Rings, and they filmed those.
Well, you'd be surprised. Something like Lord of the Rings, they might only shoot one scene a day.
Mm.
So it's like if it says interior, the Shire, Frodo's home, that whole scene, it's like 2.5 pages. They'll shoot that in like 2-3 days, just because what'll happen is they'll shoot a take on something that big, and then Frodo, which I forgot his name, will
Elijah Wood.
We'll walk over to the director, Peter Jackson, and be like, all right, let's watch it. And they'll sit there and watch it. And like, I don't really like that. And they can spend time and get it right exactly how they want. And they might do 30 takes on his entrance into the house because he didn't like it. So they have time for that. They have the money for that. But that's also why they get the best production value, the best stories, the best everything. I mean, you're talking about from Star Wars, the Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter, any of those major franchises. That's what they do because they have all the money in the world.
Now, what is your? So you've got your worst day. What's your best day? Do you have a best day on that shoot?
I think I want to say all of the days were fun to me. I think they were all best days because there wasn't a day that besides that day, obviously, there wasn't a day where I was like, oh, I don't want to be here. I hate this. You know what I mean? Like, my attitude was always, I probably don't show it because I'm thinking. And when I think, my face just gets blank. And I'm just like, this is my thinking face. Right? If you look at me and I'm just like, it's because I'm like, we only have 5 minutes left to do this. I got to bring the camera over here. I got to have art set up this. Like, I'm just like, I can't show my face right when I'm thinking. A lot of people say, hey, you're a mouth breather. I'm like, no, I'm a mouth focuser. Like, I'm trying to, think. But yeah, I think they were all good. Yeah, I really liked them. Even the day with the waiter and I butted heads for hours, it was still a good day. It was still fun.
Yeah, it's weird too because I look, the thing is, I kind of came in, there was kind of a gap in my knowledge of the Game Chasers. And so I didn't know who Joe was.
Right.
And it's weird if you watch his YouTube videos, it's like, wow, he's really good. Like, he's really good, but he's thinking on his scale. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just kind of funny because it was like, you've got somebody like you who's really the guru of how this is done here. And then you've got him who's probably one of the gurus of YouTube.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny.
My dog just came in. She misses me.
Now,
sorry, but go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, GameSack is who we're talking about, David. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, me and him, it's there's a couple of reasons why I got frustrated. And I have nothing against the guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. He would just really wanted to get this done for his friend, right?
Right.
And there's no hard feelings, but it's frustrating when you're put in a position to where I have to worry about 3,000 variables, right? And he wants to add 1,000 onto that.
Right.
And I can't worry about his wants because his wants are relevant to me because he's just a featured background character. Like, in my mind, he's a featured background character. He is the waiter, right?
Mm-hmm.
That position to me, and not discredit him or his acting in any way, is the least of my worries when it comes to the things I have to worry about. And
right.
So when he came in, it's like, why can't we do this? I'm like, I said we can't do it. We need to move on. Like, it doesn't matter what you want. You're not the producer.
Or the director or any of it. You're right.
Any of those. If you're EP director or producer, that's the only person on set that can overwrite me.
Right.
Like, nobody else can do that. Now, even an A-list actor knows that. They cannot overwrite the first AD. It has to be somebody above him or her that overwrites them. And when he just wouldn't stop, it just kept eating away at me. I'm like, dude, I can't worry about you. I can't worry about what you want.
Well, it was weird because it was, I don't know. I guess for me, it was weird because I didn't understand the dynamics. And then I was like,
it was day ones too.
Yeah. And it was at the same time, Joe was, I didn't know who he was, right. Just because I wasn't entrenched into that world. I had just been, dragged in almost, you know what I mean? So it was just a strange thing, but I know he meant well. And I know that you meant well.
Right.
And it was,
that's why I said,
it's all for the good of the movie. Right.
Right.
But anyway, now this is something completely different. And I just thought of the question, but
I love it.
Recently, The Mandalorian, I don't know if you've been watching the making of.
No, I haven't watched the making of, and I think I only finished like 4 or 5 episodes. It sucks being a filmmaker because I never have time to sit down and watch anything. But what I saw so far was freaking awesome.
Yeah. Now, here's the part that kind of blew me away. Hashtag blown away. They give there's a friend of mine that comes onto the show and he gives me crap for saying that over and over. So I made it an emote. But anyway, the way that they shot a ton of it was that they have those big LCD or LED, right?
Cityscapes.
Right. And it's called the volume, and it's built with a game engine so that as they move the camera, the background shifts and all that stuff.
That technology came from Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that is, especially with the pandemic, with all of this stuff, do you think is that where we're moving?
I think the bigger movies have always been moving that way. I think ever since Titanic, because you have to look at movies and especially as a filmmaker, you have to look at them as what do they give. So George Lucas, for instance, he had to wait to make the rest of Star Wars, and he even said that the technology is not here yet, and he had to wait decades, and he was finally able to make episode one and just continue on, right? Um, and I think that there's movies that bring that technology. Okay, well, we don't know how to do this. Well, how the hell do we do it? We got to figure it out. So they get, scientists, coders, developers, animatronics, robotics, all these different people, engineers and everything, and they figure out how to make this work. And Titanic was first one of those. They kind of, I mean, set extensions have always been a thing where you put a giant green screen and you put something else there, because you don't want to build it, you want to save money. But Titanic kind of really pushed that into the higher end, because obviously they couldn't build this mile-long boat that was really big. They built a lot of it, right? But they didn't build the whole thing, and they had to digitally put in a bunch of stuff. So that became a thing. And Avatar, of course, and even Star Wars, when they finally shot it, in the late 90s again, they were still making up new technology for it that eventually, everybody's doing. So to answer the question, I think big movies have always been going to whatever's going to save money, and I feel like a digital cinescape is going to be easier than building $1 million flat in a studio backlot somewhere that you use for one scene and then it's never used again. You know what I mean? Like, I think eventually it'll all be to that. What's that movie with Mission Impossible guy, Tom Cruise, Elysium, right? They used, I think it was Elysium. They were the whatever. Elysium, that was it. It's not Edge of Tomorrow. It's another movie where he was like alone on this planet by himself or something. It was in the future. I forgot what it's called. Yeah. Anyways, so he he was all of that was shot on a digital landscape. I call it Cinescape. I don't know what anybody else calls it yet, but it's basically where they just projected on a big screen around it, and that most of that movie was shot like that. So they didn't actually build a crazy big set. I mean, they built the house that he was in and part of the ship and whatever, but the rest was digitally put in live.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I guess the thing was, like having a static shot, with a set extension or with a green screen, even if it's projected, right? That's one thing. But the way that they were doing it, where, as they moved, it, it moved like you were in the world.
So it looked real.
It's mind blowing. And there's I remember when I was watching the show, I remember seeing a couple of scenes where it's like, hey, something's weird there. I don't get it. I don't know what I'm looking at, but something's off. And come to find out, it's probably because something was like not calibrated right, and it just didn't look quite
right. Real. And I think if I remember reading right, Mandalorian is one of the shows that has set that technology up.
Yeah.
And it might be something that eventually we all do. And I'm not necessarily worried about the pandemic part of it being a factor. Again, I think it's money, because everything in filmmaking is money. Money. How much do you have? How fast can you spend it? How slow can you keep it? It's
right.
Yeah. Just because they have $200 million doesn't mean they want to spend it all.
Right.
They only want to spend 190 and have 10 million to play with.
Right.
So.
Well, and it was one of those things too, is that like, I can't remember who was saying it. But it was like going forward, people are going to be like making sound stages for nothing but something like this, and
I think you would see it in the big film towns, like Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles, London. I feel like you would have that technology be able to use there, because somewhere in like Dallas or Houston, where they just shoot, and the biggest thing they shoot there is TV shows.
Right.
They're not gonna be able to afford that, because I mean, even something like that is probably going to be like $1 million a day to use, because of all the staff and the facility and everything that it takes to run that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be, I just find it interesting to see, like, I guess my whole thing is that through the pandemic, I don't want them to close theaters, and then I don't want that to affect the big, crazy, big movies that I like. Because I mean, through all this, I've kind of relearned my independent movie film love again. I've kind of recaptured that. Okay. But then, I still don't want, whatever the next big Marvel movie is going to be, I don't want it to be affected by the fact that, they might be showing it in theaters and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think they still will. Like I don't see theaters going away for like the next 10 or 20 years. But I do think eventually home viewing will be what you do. And part of me thinks that's sad, and part of me thinks it's kind of the inevitable. It's like there's not much to do about that.
Yeah. I guess
With the
it's the
digital internet and everything being so widespread now. And I live in a little shack in my town that I built, and I have fiber internet. It's 1,000 down. Like, I mean, and I can get this in this little town. I mean, somebody else can
right.
download a movie in real time like it's nothing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's like I love the community aspect, but a lot of people don't. My wife
Right.
included. It seems like every time my wife and I go to a movie, we sit down and the person that sits right next to her is going to talk, like 100% of the time.
Oh,
And
that
they're
sucks.
gonna, yeah, it's like she can never, it seems like she just attracts those people. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, it's kind of my girlfriend too. So
but it's one of those things where it's like I just remember The Dark Knight, saw it opening night, and it was electric in there. It was crazy.
oh yeah. I mean, you have movies like that you get to see in theaters that like that will be like a huge classic forever, right?
Yep.
And then if you read on that movie, there's so much amazing stuff that happened to make that film, and I think that energy just came and just continued to follow that movie even when it was done, and went to the viewer when you watched it. I mean,
Yep.
Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time. Like, I love him, and just the hospital scene itself where he couldn't get it to blow up. That was an actual malfunction by the pyro team, and he just was like, and then it blows up.
He just jumps in. That's one of the greatest moments in that movie too.
And it
Character
was
moment.
made up. It was made up on the spot. Like, that is just you'd be surprised how many scenes like that or in Django, where I don't know if you've seen that movie,
Hmm.
where um Leonardo DiCaprio has a piece of glass and they're at the dinner and he slams it on the table because he realizes they're conning him or whatever, and he cuts his hand. He actually cut his hand in that scene. That
And
was
then
for
acts
real.
through it.
And he acts through it, and they just made it a part of the story. It's
It's
so
awesome.
freaking phenomenal. So freaking phenomenal. That movie was great. I mean, Quentin Tarantino knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. Leo is he's a treasure.
Yeah, he is.
Um I'm trying to think. There was something that you said that made me. I can't remember the question I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So let me ask you this. Your new business, your rentals. In fact, let's do that. That didn't work.
Maybe not do that then? I don't know.
No, let's do that. Okay, so now in chat, you've got your link now. You've
Oh,
got your
awesome.
exclamation point Rudy will stay there forever as long as we do this show. So everybody can
Yay.
find you at the Film Rocket Rentals. So
Yeah.
how did that come about?
So, being in the AD department, usually I'm in prep, right? And the number one thing ADs have to, the AD department manages is the walkies. And every time I would get on a show, the producer could be like, "Hey, where do we rent walkies?" I'm like, "Oh, well, here's this place, or here's this place," and they just rented them for an exorbitant amount of money, or they didn't take care of them, or it was always something that was wrong with the rental company. And I was like, I wonder if I could do this. So I went to my best friend of since we were like in sixth grade. He's very wealthy now. And I was like, hey, do you want to invest in something like this? Or does this interest you at all? He's like, hell yeah. And so he dropped a huge amount of money and we went and bought all this stuff. And now I mean, I'm very grassroots kind of run it out of my house kind of thing. But we were booked for almost a whole 12 months. And after Game Chasers, people found out because Game Chasers was our first movie that we rented to. After Game Chasers, people found out, and we had somebody trying to come in and buy the company from us. And I was like,
Wow.
holy hell. I was like, we must be doing something right. So, we said no, and we're going to keep doing this. And we had, by March, we had South by Southwest on lock. We had all these things, huge things. Of course, it all canceled. We lost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, it's like, we'll survive the recession that we had. And, actually last week our first order went back out for a new movie.
Cool.
So
No, that's good to hear. I mean, that's one of those things where, I'm looking through that and I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize a lot of that stuff. So it's cool
yeah,
to.
and we've expanded our inventory, and we just ordered a bunch of new director's chairs, and we're going to get some new pop-up tents, and we're going to get more walkies, and we're you know becoming this big thing, and we're actually now branching into music festivals to deliver walkies to the support staff and their security teams and stuff like that. So we're not just going to be Film Rocket. I mean, but Film Rocket will probably be the name, but we'll still cater to those other avenues. So
Oh, that's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
it's diversification, right? I mean, even the biggest YouTuber does it. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's doing it, so it makes a lot of sense.
yeah, for
That's
sure. And
awesome.
it's working out pretty well right now.
Well, good. So I guess we'll wrap this up. But is there anything else that you want to plug, or you got some new projects coming up, or?
I've got there's a couple things I wanted to tell you.
Oh yeah,
So the people who made Sick for Toys, I
yes,
did a movie with them right before I did Game Chasers, another one. Because they love me so much, I went back out to LA and I did a movie with them, and I was the first on. It's called Roadhead, and yes,
yes.
it is as crazy as you think it's going to be, and it is wonderful. It's over the top. So they made a comedy horror this time instead of a dark horror Christmas horror that they made last time. It is phenomenal.
Well,
Probably one of the greatest times that I've had on a set, and
and
you guys are gonna like it.
yeah, and you showed me. In fact, you showed a few of us. It was on your phone, and it was the shot of a scene happening. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh, is it where somebody gets their head cut off?
Yeah,
Oh, so fun, so fun.
yeah, yeah. So I was really, and I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
It's not out yet. It's not out
Yeah,
yet. We're that buddy I was talking to you about, that he was very wealthy and helped me produce Film Rocket into what it is. He invested in that film and funded them a little bit, and
cool.
he's just like over the top with it. He got to fly out there, and he got a chair that said executive producer and all this stuff, and he was just like, "This is so cool! I want to do it again." And anyways, he had a blast on that set. He was only there for like a day and a half or something before he flew out, and it's he got to see some awesome killings those days.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
So
it sounds like it's weird how, and this is just like in any arena. It's like sometimes you have like YouTubers or Twitch streamers or this person or this person. There's one person that kind of just gets involved, and for some reason they're always rich. It's weird because like there's this guy that I watch online. He's a pretty small streamer, but this guy will just drop $150 tips and buy people all kind. I mean, it's crazy. So it's nice
yeah,
to see that it seems like you've got your like almost like a guardian angel helping you out. It's
oh
awesome.
dude, he's the nicest guy in the world, and I never steer him wrong. If I believe something isn't going to make him money, I tell him straight up, like, this is not good, don't do this, because I want him to be happy. He'd be happy, he'll invest in another film.
Right.
But so Till Death was the latest project I did with those big stars in it.
Hmm.
That's going to be a great movie. Universal picked it up, so it will be in theaters and all that good jazz as of right
Well,
now.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Universal is kind of
As of right now. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens. But that one's a drama action film. Was very it's very love story esque, you know. Um,
And Jason
but
Sudeikis.
yes, and he was very method, very wonderful to work with. He was so
Cool.
funny. He was just fun to be around and hang out with, and we would throw up, talk the shit to each other and set, and I wasn't the first AD, I was the second, which is
What does that mean?
basically okay. So the first AD is the man or woman on set, right? The
Right.
second AD is in the background, right? Doing all the crazy stuff that has to happen. So the second is the middle person. And I'm an extension of the first and an extension of the second.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So
So you're kind of
yeah, a big movie's that big, you have to have a second. And what's funny is I started it, and I was like, holy shit, I haven't been a second in like 10 years. I was like, how do I do this? Like, I had to like readjust my brain
Right.
And it took me most of the show to get back into the groove, and I kind of hated that because something I should have just walked right in and took, But
Is
yeah, it
it
was a
a
fun show.
because it's like, oh, I don't get to make that decision. You know what I mean? Is it
I think it's because my brain was wired to how things are supposed to go, and I'm not saying the ads on that were bad; they weren't at all. But it's just like I kept seeing holes, things that should have been moved the right way, things that should have happened, and I'm not talking shit about them at all. They were great, but um, it's just the way I wanted to do things was different than them, and so I couldn't resettle my brain to the correct. I kept just looking at those holes, like, oh man,
right?
we should have did this, and that would bother me all day, and I wasn't like, oh yeah, I got a whole job, I got to do it, you know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right. It's almost like you have to compartmentalize your mind in a way.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, you're not the first AD, do not yell rolling, you know what I mean? Well, yell rolling,
Right.
but don't say roll camera, and but there was a day that the first AD got to walk away, and I got to say roll camera, roll sound with Jason Sudeikis in the camera, and that was
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Nice.
very very fun.
Well,
You should check out Puppet Masters.
oh yeah, yeah. Where can I watch that? Because I tried
All
looking for it and I couldn't
platforms.
find it.
It's on
Yeah.
all platforms.
I wonder why I couldn't find it. Maybe I was looking for the wrong thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that one that one was fun. We shot most of that in the Ambassador Hotel that burned down
Oh wow.
just recently. I think it burned down like a year ago or 6 months ago or something. But it was an old condemned hotel that we shot most of that movie in, and it was awesome. It was star-studded cast, man, star-studded.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna check that one out too. And it's like it's kind of funny because, I mean, of course, Billy and Jay, I know those guys. Eric, I know those, all those guys. But now I've got all of these people that I'm now following their careers and like keeping an eye on things. It's kind of fun. Like Christine, like it's like I want to see what Christine does next. I want to see what what I mean. It's just fun that everybody's. I don't know. It's almost like I don't know, like you're all living in my head in a way. You know what I mean? It's like it's like I keep thinking. It's like, and I wish I could get on Facebook more, but man, Facebook is driving me insane right now.
Yeah, with all the politics and everybody arguing about everything that's going on, and it's partially why I'm just like, okay, do I share memes right now or do I stop? And actually, I'm kind of glad you brought this up because I almost deactivated my Facebook, and since I've had my Facebook since like 2007 or 2008 or something,
me too.
I haven't deactivated it, and I was like, this is the first time in my life I don't want to see these people. Like, I don't want to see these posts. I don't want to see everybody arguing politics. I don't want to say it. Like, just be good to people. End. Like, why are you debating this?
Right.
Like,
that's exactly, yeah. And that's exactly what I said on this show. It was like, I just said, look, all I really want to say is that, fear is a weapon and the corrupt are using it right now.
Oh, like crazy.
So
I couldn't agree more.
So just be good to each other and keep each other safe and yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like I have friends on this who are so polarized one way, and then another set they're so polarized on this way, and they're blocking each other. People in the industry. I'm like, dude, you're gonna work on set one day with them, and then what? You're just gonna you kind of shooting yourself in the foot. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to worry about me and mine right now, and I've been around the protesting and stuff life before. I'm not to get into politics. I used to be very, very left from my beliefs, and I was in all the protests when I was younger, and I get why people are doing it. But the last time I was gonna protest was the night, the July 5th, where the police were killed by that armed shooter guy at the thing, and I was like, I don't think I can ever do this again. Just because of people are wild, people are crazy. I just don't want to.
Well,
I want that life.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of it's just the what do you call it? It's just the like the golden rule, Why?
Yeah, it's like why is everybody not raised with that?
Yeah, I don't understand how you can in 2020 with the internet, with everything that we're exposed to. I mean, we're exposed to. Globally, we're exposed to so much more than we used to. Like, how can you go, hey, that guy over there? Yeah, he's less than. How? At this point, how?
I don't
But
know. I think people are just set in their ways, and I think that's part of what this movement is about. That's going on currently is to
right,
change that. Because I
right.
think somebody said it best. I don't know where I read this, and it's it's always been there, but
Hmm.
now we can see it,
Yep.
and I feel like that's why it's such a powerful thing. I don't know. People just got to wake up and think differently, and I'm hoping that's what some form of what this is accomplishes. So,
Right. Well, hey, guys, thank you for watching. Rudy, thank you for
of
that.
course, man, it was fun. I'm
And
sorry we had to reschedule so many
oh
times.
no, I understand. I mean, you've got a business to run, you've got things
Yeah.
to do. I totally get it. And a family to worry about. I totally get
Yep.
it. Yeah, and that's why I was just like, hey, no, yeah, just let me know. I mean,
Yeah, I was worried that you thinking I was blowing you off, and I was like, man, I am not. I
nah.
was so busy.
Well, I seriously, I really appreciate you coming on because it's like it's in a big way. I feel like it kind of legitimizes my show a little bit, so I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that. That's awesome.
No,
I was gonna say next time we go to LA and do a movie, let's do a podcast, and I'll see if I can chime in on my phone on set. I think that'd be really cool.
ooh, that would
I
be
mean, I may
cool.
not be able to go up to like Jason Sudeikis or something.
Right, right.
No, but like you could see the cameras and stuff and things going on.
Oh
If
yeah.
I might could spend like 10 minutes if there's a long build.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
Larissa will be there. I don't. Has she been on your show yet? I don't know if she has.
no, I think I texted her or Facebook messaged her a while back, but I don't have any of her other information, I don't think.
Okay.
But yeah, I texted her and stuff and I just never got a response, so I figured, oh, she's probably busy.
Hey, she didn't respond to me either, so don't.
Yeah.
Don't
But I mean, I know she did Christine's podcast, but I mean, it's
her and Christine are pretty good friends though. I think they also both live in Austin, like really
right.
close to each other, and they see each other and hang out a bunch.
Yeah.
So
But hey, like I said, it's I'm just having people on as I can get them scheduled, and I think Scott is going to be on next week.
awesome.
So yeah, it's gonna be it's fun. But I really seriously, again, I just appreciate you coming on and spending the time
It was fun.
and yeah, let's hopefully it keeps moving forward and we're gonna have something good.
Yeah, no, we should do it again. I actually had fun.
Okay, great. I'm so happy. But guys, thank you again. Yeah, we're gonna cut it there and then we will see you next time. Bye.